Hello all, and welcome to the second video dedicated to the Oktoberfest season that I'll be doing. It's only going to be, unless like I find like some other beer, there's probably only going to be two videos. But this one, we're going to be looking at Festbiers, or Weissbier. So last night we looked at Marzens, which were the traditional beers served at the Bavarian Oktoberfest. And sometime in the 1980s, 1990s, they became replaced by Festbiers slash Weissbiers, which are sort of a lighter beer style than Marzens, both in malting and drinkability. So, yeah. So this is not going to be really this is not going to be another video where I'm judging beers. These are both beers that are closely related in ratings, and somewhat different in styles. Because today we'll be looking at Erdinger and Weihenstephaner. Weihenstephaner. Erdinger uses wheat malt because that's their big thing. They are Germany's premier, Hefeweizen brewer. So it's a fest beer using a heavy wheat malt base. And this is just another fest beer. This is 5.8, 5.7. So put on your dirndl or lederhosen and let's get to this. And interesting side note before I go and crack this open, there are pictures of me at 4 years old wearing a lederhosen because my mom thought it was cute for me to wear lederhosen. Yeah, I guess, loving beer and hearty foods, runs in the blood. I am part German. I don't look it at all. Okay, let's go and pour these out. Okay, that's the Weihenstephaner. And now for the Erdinger. And it seems like I shouldn't have opened the curtain, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad of a light glare. Ignore the light glare. Ignore it, friends. Okay. So obviously, they're going to look very different. This one, brewed with, traditional barley malts, clear golden yellow. This one, which is technically a Hefeweizen, very cloudy golden yellow. The Hefeweizen's probably going to keep his head for a while. This one, not so much. Basically because I forgot to wipe out the glass before I used it, so it probably had like water on the bottom from when I washed it. But anyways, that's probably why the head's more or less gone. But nicely carbonated, fizzy, white head. Bready malts, hints of apple or pear. Spicy to herbaceous hopping. But overall, very malt forward, kind of bready and doughy up front. Okay, onto the Hefeweizen. Or should I say, the Weissbier Hefeweizen. I'm just going to top that off a little bit, yeah. Okay, cloudy. Somewhat minimal head for a Hefeweizen, but I don't think it's as you know, So you got those Hefeweizen notes of clove, bubblegum, banana. Wheat and funk, yeast. Those phenolic yeast notes. These are not going to taste similar at all, by the way. Essentially it's two different beer styles, but I want to go and show how basically it's become from a darker beer to a light beer for Oktoberfest. Okay, let's go and try a sip of the Weihenstephaner. 5.8 goes down very easy. Up front, doughy bread. Moves into some slightly bittering hops in the mid to finish. Finishes more or less clean on the palate with some malty and hoppy notes in the top note in the long finish, but pretty much clean on the palate. Some mild stone fruit-like notes, apple-like notes in the front to mids, but definitely defined by a strong and robust maltiness. Goes down a lot easier than the Marzen does. Marzen's got some chew to it. Onto the Erdinger. As wheat beers goes, this one is fairly subdued in regards to the yeast notes, the phenolic yeast notes on the palate. And there's some hints of bubblegum in the mid to finish in the top note, but definitely bready on the palate. Some wheat and funk there, but I guess you could say wheat bread instead of barley bread. I don't know. Yeah, it really only has those, you know, really strong Hefeweizen notes in the top note, not on the palate at all. And the palate's much more kind of bready, cereal grain kind of note. In the mid to finish, there's some hot bitterness that kind of blends a bit, just ever so slightly, with the yeastiness to kind of give it a little bit of a spicy tang. But yeah, it finishes fairly clean for a Hefeweizen as well. There's still some residual flavors on the palate, but fairly clean for a Hefeweizen. I know this is really confusing, but Festbier is basically a classification that's not really predicated on it being, a particular malt bill or anything like that. It's basically a lighter malt, lighter bodied, um, malt forward German style beer that is served during the Oktoberfest season. Hmm. Yeah. This one, even though it's almost the same ABV, feels much lighter in mouthfeel and in body. That may just be purely subjective on my side. Yeah. Okay. Reason why I'm so quiet is because I'm having a lot of trouble deciding, well, which one do I prefer? They're just so different in taste profile that it's like I can't really put them side by side and say, yeah, um, I want that one. You know what I mean? Because one of them is basically a sort of very tame, moderate Hefeweizen, very quality made, but focusing more on drinkability and the malt bill. And one is, just I guess you could say archetypical Festbier Weissenbier style. I'm going to say that I would go for this one for the Oktoberfest. Just because it's a bit more close to what would be typical for the style. And I would go for this one if I wanted a Hefeweizen that's not too out there with those yeasty phenolic notes. So, Weihenstephaner and Weihenstephaner Festbier and Erdinger Oktoberfest. Both of them are great beers. Both of them are worthy of trying, especially during this Oktoberfest season. Both of these came from Bottle Works. I was just looking for some things to kind of like compare with the Sam Adams Oktoberfest, and I found those two, and I thought, it would be interesting and nice to talk about like the actual style of beer that's being sold in the Munich Oktoberfest. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's still ongoing. Um, at the Munich Oktoberfest, it's not going to be Marzen, and you're not going to have a wide selection of beer styles. each hall is going to have, or I guess tent is going to have the one brewer and one beer. Like there's smaller kiosks if you wish to like purchase, I guess schnapps or something like that, or something different. Um, but the main halls or main tents will have basically these from their brewers. You go there, you drink from a huge mug, you eat some chicken and potatoes, and you sing schlagers. Schlager being a genre of German music. It's the one. You know. But yeah, well, I really enjoyed doing this. Someday it'll probably never happen because one, I am extremely poor, and two, um, I should just kind of admit it. I have kind of a mild phobia about traveling to the point where even driving for like 30 minutes kind of causes me anxiety, much less flying to another place. And the thing is not the things that people would think. I would actually really enjoy the foreign language aspect, getting, um, teaching myself, like my a low level of conversational skills, reading comprehension skills. It's 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 not even like I'm afraid of other cultures. I love other cultures and languages. It's more like I have fears of leaving the house. But yeah, maybe someday I'll get to go to the Munich Oktoberfest, buy an adult-sized lederhosen and wear it there. Well, folks, that is your beer comparison review. I guess not really a beer comparison review, more just like a beer discussion review for this afternoon. Prost!